Hey guys, welcome to House the Code presents the Techies Hangout, which is our own podcast series for the techies like us. इस पूरे पॉडकास्ट सीरीज में हम लोग अलग अलग लोगों से बात करेंगे जो कि टेक्नोलॉजी बैकग्राउंड से है एंड अलग अलग डोमेन्स में काम करते हैं. वी विल ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ दे एक्चुअली वर्क एंड हाउ देयर डोमेन वर्क्स एंड व्हाट इज द स्कोप ऑफ देयर डोमेन्स. So this is the first episode of this podcast series and our today's guest is Aditya Mittal. He is a partner in a fintech firm called as Fintech Global Center, which is based in Gift City, Gandhinagar. He comes from an engineering background with degree in computer science, finance and mathematics from IIT Guwahati. So yeah, let's meet Aditya and get some insight of his journey and experience in the fintech industry. So hi Aditya and welcome to House the Code.
Hi Yash, thanks for inviting me.
So how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? संडे के दिन
I'm
काम कर रहे हैं दोनों.
yeah, I'm good as well. Uh, and yeah, thank you so much for coming to this podcast. And this is the first podcast on this channel. So really honored to have you here. So this podcast is completely related to fintech and getting some glimpse of the fintech industry basically. And I thought that you are the best person uh, that can help my audience for this thing. So let's start with the first question itself, which is the base question, which is what is exactly fintech? And when a company or an industry calls itself fintech, that this is a fintech company, then what they actually mean from that?
Right. So fintech is basically technology companies or solutions that are catering to the financial world, right? Um, to give you a very simple example, today whenever we do any UPI transaction, right? So what
Yeah,
we do is we just scan a QR code or we have a UPI ID या किसी का phone number होता है. We take that, we key in that, we put in the amount, we set in the pin and send, click send, and the money gets transferred, right?
yeah,
Now rewind a few years back, when if you had to do fund transfer, what you had to do was you actually had to go to a bank, or you had to log into net banking and type in the person's account details, and then transfer the fund, right? Now in this case, what happened was we introduced a technology where we were able to solve a financial domain problem, that is fund transfer was made easier using technology. So it's a very simple and classical example in the Indian context of how technology, when solves problem or let's say creates something new in the financial domain, is what is called fintech.
okay, greatly answered actually. From how many years you are in this industry, in the fintech industry?
Right. So if I talk specifically about fintech, I am here in this since last 6.5 years now.
Okay,
But in finance, luckily, I started my career right out of college in from finance itself. So I
okay,
was a trader. So I traded for a prop trading firm for around 2.5 years, and after that, I
okay.
switched to the tech side of it, uh, where I started working on the kind of solutions and kind of products that I used to use when I was a trader.
Okay.
So to answer your question, around 6.5 years, I've been working in fintech.
Okay. And these last 6 years are actually the main 6 years I see in the Indian context, because after the demonetization, like in the last 6 years, we have actually grown a lot when it comes to the fintech market. So just tell us about your company, like Fintech
Right.
Global.
Right. So we are a technology company who where and we specialize in finance, right? So that's how we basically are a fintech company. In addition to fintech, um, we also have non-fintech products as well, which I'll tell you about
Okay.
later on. Let me first give you a brief idea about um, fintech, as in the fintech part of it.
Okay.
So we primarily our clients are in North America and in Europe, right? Because the markets that we operate in are called OTC markets. So I'll give
Okay.
you an example. जैसे exchanges होते हैं, right? There is BSC है, NSC है, MCX है, जहाँ पे people like you and me can go and trade anything that's available on the exchange, correct?
Yeah.
Now there's a parallel to exchanges which is called OTC, over the counter, right?
Okay.
Which is a market that's sort of applicable or accessible to only large financial institutions, right?
Okay.
And that is the market that we operate in,
Okay.
which is in its nascent stages in India right now, and it's coming up really, really big, in a big manner. So we're looking
Okay.
to work in India as well for the OTC markets, but primarily our work right now is in the Northern America and Europe, where these markets are relatively much bigger. And so yeah, that's the domain we operate in. That is the OTC markets.
So Fintech Global is a service-based company, I think. Uh, is
Yes, but we do have a couple of our products, and there are a couple of products that we are looking to come up with in the market as well. So yeah, we basically do both services and products.
okay. So what is the difference between a service-based company and product-based company when it comes to fintech?
So if I were to think about it, it's just that the only difference that I personally see between a services, let's say I'm working on two products. One is in-house, which makes it a product-based company, and I'm building it for someone else. So that becomes a services business, right? The only difference I see is that there's an additional stakeholder who's the client. But
Hmm.
other than that, from an approach perspective, at the end of the day, you're building a product, right? Who has some
Hmm.
end users, who has certain stakeholders in their in the system. So
Hmm.
from a company standpoint, our approach to either one of them is pretty much the same. The only difference is that there's an extra external stakeholder when it comes to the services side of it. But the way we approach solving any particular problem, or let's say working on anything, our approach is pretty much the same. For us, a product is a product,
Hmm.
and it's just that it has a extra set of stakeholders, um, which is the client. But other than that, I think it's pretty much the same.
Okay. Got it.
Non-fintech side of it, we have a couple of products. We have a content management platform, we have a um, cloud migration platform, we have code analysis platform. So these are non-fintech products that we have in the market. We are also coming up in the market with a fintech product of ours. uh, it's a trade management software. So very
Okay.
to give you a very basic idea, if you basically are going and trading on several different exchanges, we are building an aggregator where you see all your trades, and all your post trade processing can happen from that particular place.
Okay. So, okay. Well, the last one seems to be very interesting because
Right.
when there are these kind of like apps, they are stockbroker oriented, right? So,
Correct.
how you will actually just integrate the different like user has to just add these kind of their account details and you will just add all their portfolio like that or something like
Right.
that?
So I think I think that's a really good question. And to give you a parallel, assume you have an account on NSC, you have an account on BSC, you have an account on MCX, right? Now, whenever
Okay.
you do a trade in NSC, you get all the confirmations of what you have traded, who's your counterparty, and all of that information. Similarly, on all three, but let's assume all these three are scattered across three different platforms. What we are doing is we're connecting to all of these three exchanges, and you just come in, provide us, okay, this is my account on these particular platforms, and we
Okay.
consolidate all of them into one place. And it's not just three, there are 10, 15, 20 exchanges like that that we connect to, and we provide you a consolidated platform where you can manage all your trades, positions, PNL, uh, your weekly, monthly, quarterly reports, which give you an overall idea about your trading activity, the kind of money you're making, and anything else that you might require.
Uh, that's actually very great. And it's still in progress, right? It's still in
So
the
we've actually
build phase.
built it for a couple of our clients as well, different versions of it.
Okay.
And we come to realize that there's a need in the market, because we started getting more and more requests like that after we had done it a couple of times. So we realized that instead of doing bespoke solutions for everyone, why don't we come up with a product of our own, which anyone can come in and start using from day one.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. That's great. That's great.
So this is a classical case of the market telling us what is it that they require.
Hmm. Yeah. Just like there are many companies which basically were first, for example, Slack. So
Right.
Slack actually was built for their own company. They first
Correct.
created
Their
it for
internal
their own company.
communication.
Yeah. Then they just
Correct.
saw this problem that this is the common problem for every company. So they
Correct.
just, yeah,
Correct.
that's great. That's great.
So like, and your company was the early player, I will say, when it comes to Gift City, adopting Gift City. So how was
Correct.
your journey, like government supporting the fintech industry, and the gift happened? Like, can you just tell me a bit of a glimpse of your company being in gift and all the
Right.
initial years?
Right. So when we were setting this company up, we knew that our focus is going to be fintech, as our name suggests. Um, and we knew that gift city is something that's it was actually up and coming at that point of time. It had started to gain some traction, not as much as it has right now, but it had some sort of uh, points that sort of were going in their favor, and we thought that, you know what, this is the place where we should be for the foreseeable future, because um, we believed that this is something that will, in a few years time, will eventually grow and become something really really big, where everyone will start coming in, start um, investing money in terms of developing this place. And the government has done a tremendous job in incentivizing people to come to gift city, set up their offices, operate out of there, and having an state of the art infrastructure provided by the government when it comes to fintech. So it is digital verification, identity verification, the UPI stack, and all of that, and economically as well. The place where we are right now, in the world, it sort of is a perfect setting for gift city to just go to the next level when it comes to building an fintech ecosystem.
Okay, so does that mean that if there is any fintech company in India, an emerging fintech company, so should they consider moving Gift City? Would it be like a better approach for them? Like,
So it depends upon what kind of problem you're solving, what kind of uh, business domain you are in. If you are working on something that corresponds to Indians trading outside India, or participating in something outside India, or creating something where people from outside India can sort of interact with Indian markets, then I think there is no question in saying that yes, anyone should come to Gift City.
okay.
So that's one part of it. And even if you are trying to solve something which is very inherently Indian, you're solving problems for the Indian target audience. In that case as well, I think it's a great place to start with. And the reason behind that is that it's building an ecosystem, right? It's
Yeah.
becoming a place where a lot of like-minded people are coming together, who who have specific experience in a particular domain, and they're coming together to build an ecosystem. So that way, you, irrespective of who is your target audience at the end of the day, that you, anyone setting up shop over there will benefit from the ecosystem that gets developed.
Yeah. So basically the networking and all. Yeah. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. So you mentioned that if a company is kind of exporting their services outside, then Gift City is a very good place. So from that, I had this question that what is India's position globally when it comes to the fintech market? Like every country has their own expertise in some of the things, you know. So although we just hear that India is doing very good when it comes to fintech, you have a better view when it comes to the actual position of India. But
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. What India has done in last few years, when it comes to fintech, is not just great, but it is on on a scale where for a lot of countries it's sort of unthinkable. Imagine a system that we've built where s- we are able to transfer money to anyone in the country instantly, right?
Hmm.
Compare that with an ACH system that's available in US, right? It there is I don't remember the exact, but there is a exact time frame, but there is a time gap between the funds getting actually transferred. There is a fee as well, as far as I remember. I might be wrong, don't quote me on this, but this is a much faster, easier, secured mechanism of fund transfer that's available. And then this, it's just the tip of the iceberg that I'm talking about, right?
Hmm.
uh, UPI has become so powerful that now countries outside other than India are also looking to sort of adopt that technology from the country, and then trying to leverage that to make things simpler and faster in their countries as well.
Hmm. I just have one question. Can you just explain the ACH a bit more?
Just like we do net banking, right? NEFT, RTGS. In
RTGS, yeah.
US, the mode of fund transfer is called ACH.
Okay. So that's really great to understand this thing that India globally is doing very well when it comes to fintech, and this just give me this thing that in the future as well, like India's fintech industry can emerge. But like, what is the difference when it comes to the fintech companies in India and outside India? For example, US and Europe also has fintech companies. So what is exactly the difference between Indian fintech company and global fintech company, like fintech companies globally?
One major difference that I see is the scale, right? In India today, whenever any fintech company is trying to solve anything or come up with any product, they're thinking they have a great scale, great opportunity to scale to a market which has millions, if not a billion users, right?
Yeah.
Um, so whenever any fintech company that sort of get started in our country targeting our uh, uh, population, they always are building for scale, right? And scale that is probably not possible anywhere else in the world, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So that's one. The other is, as we all know, right? The Indian consumer is a very tricky consumer, right? And when and I'll quote Sridhar Vembu, the CEO of Zoho. He said that Zoho products did great outside India because they first vetted the products with Indian consumers, because the Indian consumers are extremely demanding.
Yeah.
That way, they fine tuned the product, which sold really, really well outside India. Right
Hmm.
now, the same can be true for the Indian fintech companies who target the Indian consumers. if they are able to satisfy an Indian consumer, it becomes much easier for them to sell it to anyone outside India,
Hmm.
right? So uh, but having said that, in today's time, आज के time पे अगर if even if you're solving something just for the Indian consumer as well, I really don't think you need to look outside India. You
Hmm.
can, you have such a huge target audience that you can build something and be a good profitable company right here in India itself. We have so many examples. You
Hmm.
can look at this Zerodha, this Grow, there's Razorpay. These are fantastic companies who are doing great and are just targeting the Indian consumer.
Definitely, definitely. And yeah, that's really clear that when it comes to India, then there are a lot of edge cases that needs to be ticked. When it comes to UPI as well, like first their UPI was totally dependent on online. But when they saw that there are some remote places in India where there is no internet, so they also took the edge case of that, and now without the internet as well, you can just do UPI with dialing some numbers
Right.
and all.
And they are innovating at a great pace. Uh, we had UPI, then came UPI Lite. Now we have that family sharing group where
Yeah.
you could have X number of people in the group who could share a wallet and you do the payments. I mean, the way this technology is evolving and the team is innovating, it's really really great.
Definitely. Yeah. So now let's just get some insights from your personal life actually. Like I
Okay,
am just curious to know that how you got interested in the fintech.
right. So that way I got lucky, to tell you the truth, right?
Okay.
um After my 12th standard, I got interested in the world of finance a bit, like thoda bahut stock market dekha, thoda bahut derivatives samjha. And while I was looking for which college to go to, I found a program which was right, exactly what I wanted, right? It had computer science, it had mathematics, and it had financial engineering.
Okay.
So it is probably one of the most unique courses that's offered in India. And I luckily got that. And over the course of 4 years, I studied computer science, mathematics, and financial engineering. And again, my goal was to go and work in the finance domain, and I got a job at a prop trading firm. After that, I worked there. It was super fun. And after that, I switched to this company where it's like I started building the products that earlier I was using. So
Okay.
uh, it basically, I would say I got lucky that I got introduced to it pretty early in my I think 12th standard or right after 12th standard. And luckily I got into a course where I could explore this aspect of business more, understand more technicality about it, get to know more about it, work in it, learn from some of the best professors out there, and then got a job as well in the same domain. And now here I am working in continuing to work here.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really great. So this program is in IIT.
Yes, this is IIT Guwahati. And the program is BTech in Mathematics and Computing. It's run by the Department of Mathematics. So जो finance का part है, financial engineering का part है, mathematics का part है, that's taken care of by the Department of Mathematics. And the computer science part is where we have our classes with the computer science department. So actually the computer science department and us were shared a lot of courses together. And whatever courses that the computer science guys did not do, sorry, uh, the other courses that computer science guys did that we were not a part of, that's where the mathematics, the financial engineering, and all of these came into picture.
Okay, so there are some of the courses that are same for both of them, and there are some
Correct.
only for,
Correct.
yeah, got it.
Correct. And then look, personally speaking, I find this field very fascinating, right? Every day I get to work in it, I learn about new things. I am constantly coming across new kind of products, new kind of platforms, systems, which is really, really exciting for me. And a lot of people might say, you know what, it's finance. What's the engineering aspect to it, right? But if anyone who's probably uh, studied engineering or some way or the other has some idea about what engineering is, what engineering is, that there are some common building blocks, right? And using those, sorry, not common but core building blocks, and using
Hmm.
those core building blocks you can make pretty much anything in the world, right?
Yeah.
uh, and that's exactly how finance works as well. You have some really basic core concepts, and if you have those core concepts, using those concepts you can build really, really complex and sophisticated products.
Hmm.
And that's why it's really fun. So it's the basic 5, 10, 20 principles that you always go back to, and you start building up from there. So it's
Okay.
super fun. Again, I might be biased here, but for me it's super fun to work in this industry.
Definitely. And I think from my perspective, being a developer, I feel if it's fintech, if I would be working in a fintech, then I think the first and the foremost thing for a developer would be that the system should be totally reliable. Like it can't go
Correct.
wrong at any cost, because
Correct.
even a simple error would cost a lot of money.
A lot of money. Yes. Look, it doesn't matter whether it's a small amount of money or a large amount of money. When money is involved, you have to be extremely careful.
Yeah. That's great. So let's now talk about the future. So what you see, like what is there for fintech in the future? What is the scope of fintech in the near future, in 5 to 10 years? What do you think?
So fintech as a company, us you're talking about, or the industry?
uh, for the whole industry?
The whole industry. That's a that's a really that's a really wide question to answer, but let me think about it.
Like just if it is a very wide question, we can break that down. I want to first know if it will emerge in the near future, and if it will, then how much it will emerge. For example, if I just think about healthcare industry, then because of the population, because of all the lifestyle things, we can see in the future it will be exploded in the future. But when it comes to fintech,
Absolutely. Yeah. Look, in that sense, I have no doubt that this sector is going to stay hot for the next 5, 10, 15 years.
okay.
And there are multiple reasons behind it, right? Overall, the economy of our country is doing well, which one way or the other trickles down to the population as well, right? If Which means people will have a lot of disposable income at with them. And when that happens, I'll basically divide this answer. Right now I'm answering from a very consumer centric standpoint, where an individual is the consumer.
Yeah.
So they will have several different requirements when it comes to money, finance, and then technology could be a great way to solve a lot of these problems that people might face. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, on the institutional side or on the company side, the Indian markets are very rapidly evolving. As you can see, right now, a lot of companies are coming up with their IPOs, uh, large scale IPOs. There are SME IPOs. A lot of activities there, right? And when these things happen, the credit markets open, the fixed income markets open, a lot of compliance, regulatory things start coming into picture, right? So from an institutional side as well, the markets are going to grow bigger and bigger, more
Yeah.
sophisticated products, more uh, uh, avenues for people to raise money, to invest money, to spend money are going to come into the market. And as long as that keeps happening, the fintech companies will have something or the other to sort of innovate on, build on, create something new and interesting.
Hmm. Okay.
So
That's great.
I think this space is going to be one of the hottest spaces, at least in India, for the foreseeable future, in my opinion.
Hmm. Okay. That's great. And like, is there any hot topic in fintech? Like, for example, before 1 or 2 years ago, there was this cryptocurrency thing, which was
Right.
everywhere. You need to learn crypto, you need to trade crypto, everything. So, is there
Right.
any current market trend that you can see, any particular area in fintech, which you can see as a trend right now, which is trending right now?
To tell you the truth, I'm not sure. On the consumer side, there are a lot of things that are happening on the investment front. People are A lot of products are coming in where people can invest their money, uh, track their invested money. So a lot of things are happening in that space. On the institutional side, I genuinely believe that the fixed income space is something that will eventually become really, really big in India as well. So
Okay.
on the consumer side, I think it's the investment space. Like it could be investment, doing investment, tracking it, comparing it, and things like that. I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
companies are already have started doing that, but I believe it's going to even grow more. And
Hmm.
on the other side, there is on the institutional side, I believe fixed income is the space which is going to become really big.
Okay, so what does fixed income mean? Like, which, what is this?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So fixed income are basically instruments using which companies can raise money, and it's one of the examples that I'm giving. But to give you an idea, just like we have stocks, equities, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Similarly, there are bonds,
Okay.
right? There are government bonds where you,
Hmm.
let's say you buy a bond, you pay 100 rupees, and after 5 years, the government pays you back 120, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So a bond is an example of a fixed income product,
Okay.
right?
Just like
And
that, like something like that.
yeah,
For example,
so
yeah.
so yeah, so debt is slightly different. So debt
Okay.
is when you borrow money and you pay regular interest,
Hmm.
uh, and there is a collateral against it,
Yeah. Nay,
usually, right?
but I think there are some companies who actually give that, who actually just for the fixed income, they provide that. Like, I have heard this thing that there is a debt market as well, where corporate
Correct.
companies take that and they pay you interest. So that is kind of a fixed income for a company who
Yeah,
has.
that's exactly what a bond is. Bond, so ये सारा
Okay.
debt market में ही आता है, and this
Okay.
is what is called issuing a bond.
Ah,
Any
okay.
company or any company issues a bond, uh, people like you, me, or institutions can go and buy those bonds, and we get premium at every few 6 months, 1 year, whatever the payout
Hmm.
frequency is, and at the end of the tenure, we get the notional back.
Ah, okay. Now this topic is clear that
Right.
bonds are
Yeah.
actually the debt for the corporate. Yeah.
Correct. So this market will become should become really big in the coming future.
Okay. Like, you have a lot of understanding of financial topics and terminologies that even I have a bit less grip on. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So please tell me if I say certain things are which might be obvious for me, but if I'm not making
Yeah.
sense, please let me know. I can definitely delve deeper into those.
Definitely, definitely. So now one clickbaity thing, which I hope I won't add in the clickbait, but how will AI impact the fintech?
So, on an industry perspective, AI is impacting pretty much every industry that's out there right now, right? Um, and to tell you the truth, before these LLM models came in, like become really popular, what happened with Chat GPT, Llama, Perplexity, and all of them, was that um, AI was already being used in a lot of different industry, right? One of the um, one of the interesting applications was in the medical industry, where I don't remember the name of the hospital. It's a really popular cancer hospital in US, which was already using AI and ML to train uh, their computer to be able to read people's scans. And
Okay.
because I had read about this in detail, so I might be some time back, but I might be missing few details here and there. But I'll give you the gist that if a doctor in their entire an oncologist in their entire career is able to go through some X number of scans, a machine can do that on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
So they used that system to be able to scan through the patient's scans and suggest if if the patient has cancer, and if they do, what should be their course of treatment. Now, at the end of the day, a panel of doctors finally took a decision based on whatever recommendations they got, but AI and ML has already been is already in place because of sorry, not because of, already in place in a lot of industries now. Because of the LLMs, people have started thinking about various different applications of it in several different industries, right? So now when we talk about fintech, there are a couple of points. Again, I am very limited in terms of how I think about these things, but there could be like immense um, ways to figure out as to what might be the applications of AI in fintech. But a couple of things
Hmm.
that come to my mind are um, fraud detection, right? You could uh, train your models to be able to detect any fraudulent transaction that might that might happen, and for it to sort of intimate you in time, saying that okay,
Hmm.
this looks fraudulent, please take a look. And again, it could be
Hmm.
on a user level and it could be on an institution level.
Hmm.
um, then you could, and then I think this is happening in the field of law as well. You have very specific LLM models which sort of go through the contracts, the legal documents, and tell you whether or not they are in compliance with the law, and if there are any loopholes and stuff like that. The same could be applicable for financial contracts as well. People could come
Okay.
up with very specific LLMs that go through the financial contracts and find out if they are in compliance with the law for a particular country, whether or
Hmm.
not there are any legal loopholes. So these are the two things that come to my mind when it comes to AI. Then there are support and operations role as well, which is happening for some time now, creating
Hmm.
bots very specific to fintech, which can help resolve problems that people are facing, uh, or on the B2B side, people can probably build LLMs for investment advice. Like I could go to an
Hmm.
LLM, say that uh, actually there could be two pronged approach to this. One is I go to the LLM model saying, okay, I have so and so money, this is my income status, this is my
Hmm.
goal, and it gives you an investment plan. Or it could
Hmm.
be a B2B solution where an investment advisor actually uses an LLM model to create a basic infrastructure and then sort of build upon it a complete solution for their clients when it comes to investment. So there are a lot of things that are possible. These are some of the few things that come to my mind as to what
Hmm.
probably how AI can probably impact the fintech industry.
Hmm. Yeah, that's actually great. Like a personalized experience for clients who wants to invest. And yeah,
Correct.
these are some of the very new things actually. But just one thing that comes to my mind when it comes to AI is the accuracy.
Right. So the idea here is not to replace the human intervention or the human expertise. It's actually an add-on. So
Okay.
let's take one of the examples that I told you about, right? I
Yeah.
let's say I have some X amount of rupees. I go to a financial planner saying that, okay, I have this much money. This is my goal. This is my risk appetite. Give me a plan, right?
Hmm.
So in a conventional sense, what that person will do is, based on their market research, they'll try to figure out what are the best investment opportunities for me,
Hmm.
what should be the strategy of me investing money into a particular market, and so on and so forth, right? Now
Hmm.
think about a tool which is available to the investment advisor, where they just put in the details of the client, and it can be anonymous, right? You just say, this
Hmm.
is the salary, this is the risk appetite, this is the goal. Based on
Yeah.
that, considering the Indian markets or whichever country's markets it is, the LLMs gives you a basic outline of what probably could this person invest in.
Okay.
So all we are doing is helping the investment advisor do research based on the latest available information in the market, and
Hmm.
provide a framework using
Hmm.
which they can build a final solution for the client. It is
Okay.
very similar to that cancer hospital example that
Hospital.
I gave,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
actually, the whatever machine is recommending, the doctors are not blindly prescribing
Yeah.
that to the patient. They are analyzing the results given by the machine to decide whether or not whether or not the patient has cancer, and if they do, what is the stage of it, what should be the course of treatment.
Hmm.
It's and I personally believe that these tools that we are talking about, the impact of AI that we are talking about, is going to be um, an add-on, not a
Yeah.
replacement
Hmm.
of what
Like a
humans
yeah.
are already doing. I'll
Hmm.
give you a
Got
very
your point.
code specific example, right? Um, there was a task, and it's specific to a task that we did in a lot of our projects, right? So there are certain message formats, correct?
Hmm. Yeah.
Based on which you have to write a code so that your code can understand those messages, correct?
Yeah.
Now there are there is this protocol called fixed income exchange protocol, which
Okay.
has like hundreds of different tags which represent something, right?
Hmm.
Now before these LLMs, when we used to sort of write code for these messages, it used to take a developer usually 6 to 8 hours to be
Hmm.
able to codify everything and be able to write that. With the help of LLM, that work gets done in 15 to 30 minutes,
Hmm.
because all you're doing is you're giving the glossary to LLM, asking it to provide your code which could decipher that particular incoming message into a particular format,
Okay.
right? So the idea is, it's all of these tools are not going to replace humans. In my opinion, they're
Hmm.
going to just make the jobs of humans much easier.
Yeah.
They're going to make us more efficient, is what
Yeah.
I believe.
Hmm. Yeah. Great.
So it's
Perfectly
a tool,
answered.
right? It totally depends upon you how you are using the tool, right? uh
Hmm.
if you just um as an individual, if you are completely relying upon what the tool is suggesting and not thinking it through, then probably you might fall short of
Hmm.
what your expectation of with the outcome is. But if you are augmenting what you already know with whatever suggestions
Hmm.
the tool is providing you, you might come sort of arrive at a better solution.
Definitely. Yeah. So the person who is already an expert, it will help them being more productive and save their time more. And it won't be for, like, it won't be for the end consumers, like these kind of things, because of the
Not really.
accuracy.
It could be. Look, it could be. Like I said,
Yeah.
it could be. Uh, um, like I said, right? If you build an AI model which tracks several different transactions that are happening, and it constantly understands what can or cannot be a fraudulent transaction, based
Hmm.
on that, you can build a system that sort of tells you that, okay, this looks suspicious, this might be a fraudulent transaction, or this is something something inappropriate, some inappropriate
Hmm.
transaction has happened on your account. So it's not necessary that this is applicable only for institutions or
Yeah.
professionals. It There could be applications which would trickle down to a common individual as well.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Something that can risk the other person will need some human assistant. The things that are responsibility based, which need some responsibility, then they are not, like, yeah, I got your point actually. So as you said that fintech industry is actually emerging, and this will be relevant for the near future for sure. So
Correct.
what are some of the good opportunities for the freshers market or the recent graduates?
So it's technology, right? So if you understand technology, if you're a good developer, if you're if you're someone who can think things through, then I think you have an opportunity to work as a developer, as a product analyst, as a product manager, as long as you have a knack of understanding what's what could be required in the market, what is the users need, what how the markets are changing, how the landscape is changing. As long as you're willing to learn, I think there are ample amount of opportunities out there. You could be a developer, analyst, product manager. You could build your own startup company, you could build your own solutions, services. So I think from a industry standpoint, there are immense amount of opportunities out there. And this is, I'm talking just about on the tech side. On other whether you're a CA or a CFA or a lawyer, there's a lot going on in this direction which will require all these other sort of job aspects to come into play as well. So
Okay.
depending upon what direction you want to go in, I think there are great job opportunities across the board.
Okay. So yeah. And for the technology perspective, uh, do the person needs to be better at finance as well? Should he be that person who at least understands finance?
So whoever wants to, and again, I might be wrong here, this is my personal belief. So
Okay.
he or she, whoever wants to join fintech industry, must understand technology, right?
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're using technology in the domain of finance, right?
Hmm.
If you understand technology, finance is something you can pick up. And pretty
Okay.
much in India, everyone picks up finance, right? Everywhere in the world, everyone picks up finance. They have to
Hmm.
understand how money works, they have to understand where they're how they are investing their money, how they're saving money. Some
Hmm.
way or the other, everyone has a knack for money.
Yeah.
You can extend that to understand how the financial markets work as well.
Hmm.
So if you're good with technology, you are logically sound, you understand how tech world works,
Hmm.
I think finance is something that can be learned. So
Okay.
it's not an absolute requirement for you to understand finance. My personal belief is this is something that can be picked up. I'll give you an example. Majority of the team that we have,
Hmm.
when that team was hired, they had no idea what finance is.
Okay.
But today, these guys on the job have learned pretty much everything that they have to for for the products that they're working on, and some
Hmm.
more. So I do not think that for you to get into fintech, there is a prerequisite of you knowing finance. If you're interested, it's good,
Okay. It's well
but
to have.
it's not it's a value add, but it's not a
Okay.
must.
So I wanted to know that for the technical side of people, what are the main tech stacks of finance fintech basically?
तू इंडस्ट्री के लिए पूछ रहा है कि कंपनी के लिए पूछ रहा
So मैं एक्चुअली पूरी इंडस्ट्री के लिए पूछ रहा हूँ. If there is a fresher, so what should be his approach from the start?
है? Like I mentioned earlier as well, it's tech that is being used in finance, right? So you have
Hmm.
to be good at tech. And one thing which sort of helps overall as well is whenever you are learning something, go understand it deeply, right? आज अगर let's say आप कोई भी language पे काम कर रहे हो, you understand how that language works. What are the pros and cons of using any particular language? And the reason is it's not about just learning that language or
Hmm.
learning about that language. It's also about learning how to do it.
Okay.
And the reason I say this is आपने आज तो कुछ सीख लिया, but आज से 6 महीने बाद कुछ नया आएगा,
Hmm.
उसके 6 महीने बाद कुछ नया आएगा. So you'll have to keep learning, right?
Hmm.
So by doing this exercise, you are not just learning a particular skill, but you are learning how to go about learning a skill as well,
Okay. So it should
right?
be a self-learning kind of a nature that the person should have कि उसे कोई भी टास्क मिल जाए, कोई भी प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट मिल जाए, but he should be able to go inside that deeply by its own self.
So there are two parts to it, right? What I am
Okay.
talking about is uh, first of all, cultivating a mindset, a learning mindset, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
जहाँ पे you are learning how to learn new things, and the other is attention to detail, which is what you said, right?
Okay.
That whatever you are learning, you learn it in detail so that you understand it through and through.
Okay. Hmm.
ठीक है? So one is whatever you are learning, learning it well. Two,
Hmm.
uh, keeping a learning mindset so that you can learn new things.
Okay. Got your point. So is this also one thing that you see in the candidates that you interview?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So whenever we are hiring from anywhere for any role, the we try to look if the person thinks or not. Are they
Okay.
able to think? Number one,
Hmm.
are they able to learn based on whatever inputs are provided to them, or whatever work that they've done so far? Are they able to learn? Are they able
Hmm.
to pick new things up? Are they able to think?
Hmm.
So
Okay.
those are the kind of qualities we basically look for.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay. Got your point. Got your point. Actually, yeah. So it's not related to the tech stack, and it is related to the mindset of the candidate. And I have
Correct.
basically seen that this thing a lot, and I've heard a lot from the interviewers this thing, that this is kind of a mindset that they see. And also most of the interviews, they are more into the tech until and unless the company has the need of that specific technology. But when they are hiring freshers, then most of the time they just look at the mindset of the candidate, that how he's
Correct.
thinking.
So correct. So the thought process is कोई भी एक इंडिविजुअल है, वो जब कॉलेज में ग्रेजुएट पढ़ रहा है, सो दे आर
Hmm.
टीचिंग what's in their curriculum, right?
Hmm.
Sorry,
Yeah.
they're studying what's a part of their curriculum. Now, based on their based on several different factors, they might pick to learn something specific. It could be
Hmm.
Java, C++, Angular, React, Node, Python, whatever,
Hmm.
right? The thought process is that, again, this is something that's very personal to us as a company,
Hmm.
is we try to see whether or not whatever that person has done, whether or not they understand it, whether or
Hmm.
not have they thought about it,
Yeah.
and whether or not can they learn something new.
Hmm.
If they have a learning mindset, if they have done a thorough job in whatever they have done, and if they have thought about what they have done,
Hmm.
I think that's good enough for us to tell us that this person is a right candidate.
Hmm. Got a point. Okay, that's great. Can you just share your like in the start of your career? Like the thing is, I can have a sense that me as a person, I am actually able to engage with you, and I hope that the audiences can also engage with you. So, in the start of your career, like you might have faced some challenges. If you want to share, like for the audience, for me as well, as I am also not a very experienced person, but yeah, there are a few challenges in the starting of the career. So, what are those challenges that you faced? What were those challenges that you faced?
Right. So let me think about it,
Hmm.
because there were quite a few. Um,
Okay.
so we all listen to everyone, right? That
Hmm.
even on the job, you have to constantly learn. You have to constantly keep learning. You have to constantly keep upskilling yourself, and you know that, yeah, that's how life works, right? You have to keep
Yeah.
um learning new things, doing new things, understanding new stuff.
Hmm.
But when it actually comes to doing it, and again, this is something very personal. When it
Okay.
actually comes to doing it, you have to uh, put effort into
Hmm.
doing these things.
Hmm.
You have to put effort to learn new things. In addition to that, you have to do introspection as well, right? Because for the majority of our life when we're in college, there's always someone who's telling us, okay, you're not doing this right, you're not doing that right, focus on
Hmm.
this, do that, right?
Yeah.
we're एक इन अ वे हम ऑटो पायलट मोड में होते हैं. पहले
Hmm.
स्कूल में टीचर्स होते हैं, फिर पेरेंट्स भी होते हैं, फिर जब कॉलेज चले जाते हैं तो कॉलेज में प्रोफेसर्स होते हैं, एंड देयर
Hmm.
इज अ कांस्टेंट ग्रेडिंग सिस्टम व्हिच टेल्स यू कि कहाँ फोकस करना है, क्या नहीं करना.
Yeah.
जब आप जॉब में आते हैं ना, तो आपका मैनेजर होता है, राइट?
Hmm.
वो आपको टाइम टू टाइम गाइड करता है, बट आपको एक एबिलिटी इनकलकेट करनी चाहिए जहां पे आप इंट्रोस्पेक्शन कर रहे हो, टू
Hmm.
सी कि व्हाट इज इट दैट यू आर डूइंग राइट, what is
Yeah.
it that you need to focus on, what is it that you can improve. तो
Hmm.
एक
Hmm.
वो, आई वुड से, हैबिट या स्किल डेवलप करना टू इंट्रोस्पेक्ट एंड टू एनालाइज योरसेल्फ एज एन इंडिविजुअल.
Hmm. That also
सेकेंड,
unbiased.
हाँ, अनबायस्ड, राइट? बिकॉज आप
Yeah.
अगर आप खुद को कर रहे हो तो वो थोड़ा सा कई बार यू कैन आइदर बी sometimes a lot more critical than you have to be, or you can sometimes be less critical than you should be. So you have to
Hmm.
keep that balance, right? And this is something that keeps on changing. You have to sort of constantly keep doing that across your career.
Hmm.
uh, then obviously learning new things,
Yeah.
learning new um, technologies, um, new systems that are coming up, right?
Hmm.
Keep uh, continuing to upskill yourself, continue to think what next, what can I do more, what can I learn more, things like that.
Hmm.
uh, and as you progress, if you uh, want to get into a managerial role, or even if you uh, advance in your career, you have to learn to work with people, right?
Hmm.
You have to learn to work in a team dynamic.
Hmm.
आपको आप इंडिविजुअली बहुत अमेजिंग हो सकते हैं, बट एट द एंड ऑफ द डे यू हैव टू वर्क विद द टीम. इवन इफ यू आर
Yeah.
एन इंडिपेंडेंट, लेट्स से क्या बोलते हैं, फ्रीलांसर हैं आप, या आप एक प्रोफेशनल हैं, यू
Hmm.
हैव यू हैव अ टीम.
Hmm.
एक बेस्ट एग्जांपल अगर मैं आपको बताऊं तो, टेनिस प्लेयर, सिंगल्स टेनिस प्लेयर है, राइट? एट द एंड ऑफ द डे दैट पर्सन इज प्लेइंग alone on the court, right?
Hmm.
but that person also has a team. Coaches hai, support staff hai,
Yeah.
physiotherapist hai, family hai, mental coach hai, right? There
Hmm.
are tens of people around them, and you have to work with them, right? You're actually working with them in
Hmm.
improving your skill, in delivering on court, right?
Yeah.
So having people skills is
Hmm.
something that you have to develop,
Hmm. Yeah, definitely
right?
well
ये सब
said.
सॉफ्ट स्किल्स वाली बातें हैं.
Hmm.
टेक्निकली तो जो भी आप फील्ड में वहां पे आपको अपस्किल होना ही पड़ेगा. यू हैव टू कीप लर्निंग न्यू थिंग्स, कीप अपडेटेड न्यू थिंग्स. एंड a lot of people underestimate the power of reading. You have to read, you have to read a lot. By reading, you can learn so many new things about whatever domain you are in, by
Hmm.
whatever new things you're trying to learn. But if you read and you make it a habit, I'm very specifically talking about your career and your job. If you
Hmm.
read, you can learn a lot, like humongous amount of knowledge you can gain by reading.
Hmm. Well said. Actually, well said. And for now, from the very personal thing, but currently my phase is where I'm trying to work with people. So
Sorry,
yeah,
you're trying to
work with people. I'm on the third
work with
point
people.
that you
Yeah,
mentioned. Yeah, because it is kind of for the fresher, I will say that from the for the fresher, the manager is there, the seniors are there, but at some point of time when you are just going up, and now there are also the freshers that you need to guide, and you are in a space where there are clients, there are managers, there are juniors as well, there is your own lead as well. When
right.
many different responsibilities that you have, then at that moment it is a bit challenging. So yeah.
Yeah, so you always find people, you always find mentors, you always find
Hmm.
uh, the right set of people to whom you can go for advice, from whom you can learn. And
Hmm.
never underestimate learning from not just a senior, but a peer or a junior as well,
Hmm.
right? You might be doing certain job, you might be facing certain difficulties, and there might be people much younger than you, much older than you, probably
Hmm.
of the same age group, experience, background. And again, it sort of ties back into the same learning mindset. You can
Hmm.
learn from pretty much anyone, and be
Yeah.
open to learning from anyone.
Hmm.
Don't have that कि यार ये इससे मैं कैसे पूछ सकता हूँ. You can.
Hmm.
There is no harm, right?
Yeah.
And again, this is something that I'm again taking another field ka example. Uh, and this was luckily I heard this long time back. I heard this from Harsha Bhogle, right? He's the uh, um, voice of Indian cricket, right? And in one of his
Hmm.
talks or interviews, he had said that when he got into commentary, there were not a lot of role models or sort of people from whom he could look up to or he could learn.
Inspire. Yeah.
I mean, there were commentators he looked up to, but to learn the skill, he said that uh f- he looked at other people who were associated with broadcasting, right? He looked at
Hmm.
cameramen, he looked at people behind the scenes, the engineers, the video guys, how they go about what they do. And that's where
Hmm.
he drew his inspiration of how he should be going about his job, right? So
Hmm.
on a technical side, let's say you get into a team lead role or a managerial role, and you see a junior developer uh, going about how that person just manages his tasks or her
Hmm.
tasks, or how they go about um, conducting themselves in a meeting, or how they interact with you as your manager, right? You can
Hmm.
probably learn from them, understand how they build a system of their own for managing tasks, which you can which you can sort of translate into how you can manage your task. How they
Hmm.
interact with you is probably you can learn how you interact with a client or a senior or your boss or your manager or your juniors, right?
Yeah.
So as long as you keep your eyes open as to and be open to feedback, be open to talking to people. I think you can learn from anyone.
Yeah, greatly said.
Okay.
So now I have this question that for a for an individual who wants to make the career in fintech, but not from a jobs perspective, but for a startup or a freelance or self-employed thing. So what guidance can you give to that kind of people?
So the core guidance तो वही है जो पहले बात करी.
Hmm.
Be good at what you do. Have an appetite to learn.
Hmm.
Two things, they're going to stay the same.
Hmm.
Three, if you're going out on your own and building something on your own, live, breathe, sleep, whatever you're working on, you have to understand what is it that you're trying to solve. What is it? Who, who s- you have to constantly live, breathe in the shoes of your end user
Hmm.
or your client or whoever you're solving for,
Hmm.
because only then you will have a very deep understanding of what you're trying to do, and that way you'll be able to excel in whatever you're trying to build, or let's say provide a service for.
Hmm. Okay.
Be consumer
uh,
centric, be data driven. A lot of
hmm.
people, whether you're a company or you're a freelancer or you're an employee,
Hmm.
uh, a lot of time people tend to overlook data, but I think being data centric is helps a lot. But
Hmm.
again, when I say data centric, it's not that you just stick with what the data says, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
You also look at the surrounding of what that data is. Like
Hmm.
I'll share a very interesting anecdote I read in a
Okay.
book. um I think it was Expedia had a customer care department, right? And some of them, and then they were uh, looking at the data of an average call duration, right? And
Okay.
their team head was uh, their entire team was focused on reducing the amount of time their support team was sending, and each individual support agent was spending on phone, right? So
Hmm.
they were trying to figure out how best can we help our support agents reduce the time they spend on phone, right?
Hmm.
So that's a data metric, and everyone was focused on average call duration.
Hmm.
But their one of their team members or their heads thought about it. Okay, should we go back and check why are people calling us or when they are calling us? And they realized that most of the people call them right after they've made the booking, and the reason for that was on the confirmation page they did not have an option to download the ticket or whatever that person had made
Hmm.
the booking,
Okay.
and that's why they were receiving an exorbitant number of calls.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So you you look at the data, but you also look what's going on around
Yeah,
to be
got your
able
point.
to get right inferences and right insights.
Hmm. To get the client's pain points, basically.
So not just
Hmm.
clients, but it could be
Customer.
internal as well.
Yeah.
It could be how your organization or how your business is working. It could be
Hmm.
also what is it that matters to the client. So from all these, like, data is helpful, but with the right context.
Hmm. Hmm, hmm. Okay. Um, I just had this question, and this is the last question for this section, which is for the freelancer or for anyone, for the company owners, for basically the founder of the company or the new people around, how they can network for these like-minded people, basically. Because I think for a fresher or for a new person who is trying to build a company or who is trying to get some clients, I think network is the most important thing from my perspective, as I see. So what are your thoughts on it, and how a new person can network?
Right. So I think a couple of ways. Stay connected with your batchmates. Like if you're going to college, stay connected with your batchmates. 5, 10, 2, 5, 10 years down the line, uh, uh, they could be a great source of new learnings, clients, jobs, whatever.
Hmm.
Alumni network.
Hmm.
Uh, Irrespective of which college you're from, uh, try and tap into your alumni network. Those usually work out pretty well.
Hmm.
Third is LinkedIn, right? People are pretty open on LinkedIn, right? Be genuine, be cognizant of other person's time, and reach out. A lot of people will be. You'll be surprised. A lot of people are more than willing to help you out.
Hmm.
And then there's yeah, I think those are the three things that come to my mind for now.
Okay. Are there some campaigns kind of thing where, like for example, fintech kind of campaigns where people can go and network these kind
Yeah,
of
yeah, there are
companies?
events happening pretty much all around the year. There are seminars, workshops. You should definitely attend those. Those
Hmm.
will get you in touch with people who are thinking about the same things, trying to go into the same direction. That those
Hmm.
are again great opportunities for you to network. And
Hmm.
if you're looking for another way, I just realized because it just clicked that you
Hmm.
could become a part of an incubation center.
Okay.
So like in Gujarat there is this iHub, and there are several incubation centers all across the country. You can get associated with one of them. You could associate yourself with some certain accelerator programs. Those are really great ways to uh, meet like-minded people who can probably help you with several different things.
Hmm. Okay. So are there some specific uh, resources actually, where you basically find these kind of information? Like for example, if there are some campaigns basically happening, so are there some very good resources, or maybe some newsletters, or maybe some channels of communication from where you get some information of where these events are happening or something like that, which
Yeah,
can
so there
help?
are tons of things available on the internet these days, right? You just
Hmm.
Google and you'll find 10 different sources
Hmm.
of where you can find this information. There's YouTube, there's LinkedIn, Google has a lot of it. Um, then there are very interesting newsletters like FinShots is one of them.
Okay.
Then all of these fintech companies have one or the other newsletter that they print out, that they roll
Okay.
out.
So yeah, that was really very great, and I got a good amount of insight when it comes to fintech now. And I just
There
hope
is
that
really
all the viewers also got a good amount of insights when it comes to fintech. Are you using some social handles where people can follow you?
yeah. So I'm available on LinkedIn. Just feel free to search my name and reach out to me, and
Okay.
we can catch up over there.
Hmm. Okay. So you are just using LinkedIn. That's the only space.
Yeah, I'm not on any other social media platform as of now.
Okay. Okay. That's good. That's good. uh, so yeah, it was a really very nice session, and the main thing about this session itself was that I got a good amount of new information that that was really very important for anyone like me, or like for any fresher. Like there should be some amount of guidance that we need from our seniors, from the people who are already in our industry. Although it was related to fintech, but fintech is itself is finance technology, so it is technology, and we are in this whole space. So this whole podcast was really very good. I got a lot of insight, not only about fintech, but in general, the tech space. So yeah, it was really very great to have you here. I'm really very honored to have you here actually.
I look, I had fun talking to you as well. So thank you again for inviting me, and it was really good talking to you.
Yeah, and looking at your knowledge regarding not only fintech but finance in general, and I am a bit weak at it, so I would like to have you again someday
Sure,
in a
sure.
also a very better
Let's
way,
plan this
basically.
out.
Yeah, definitely, to actually just look into these financial terms that are important for us as well, for engineers
Sure,
who are already good at it. But yeah.
sure, sure. Definitely. Let's see how best we can do this.
Yeah, thanks a lot to have you. So I hope you enjoyed the first episode of this podcast series, and please feel free to give your own feedback of this whole episode and how we can improve, and I will make sure to consider your feedback. And you can also check out this podcast, the Techies Hangout, on Spotify as well. So thanks for listening to this podcast. I will meet you in the next one.